God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh-huh. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God gives me everything I need. God gives me everything I need. Yeah, yeah.
How y'all doing? Good. Boy, we've got lots of room for folks to come in late. How about that? Well, we're going to get started and just hold the space for them. Good morning. My name is Reverend Michael McMorrow. I'm the spiritual director here. And you are in the Center for Spiritual Living in Granada Hills, so thanks for making the trek down from the Great White North, Santa Clarita. And we have a little, this is a place where we welcome all who practice religious beliefs, faith and love, along with my staff ministers here, Reverend Kathy Lyons, so I'm on mute. And so, is that on mute? Is that one on?
Yeah.
Oh, there's my God voice. All right, so let me start over. No. So we do a little thing that we do here. We have a thing that we do here. Well, let me first, I got to finish introducing you. I'm all verklempt. So this is Reverend Kathy Lyons, our presider this morning, and our animal ministry goddess of love. Yes. So let's just, yeah, why not? So let's just take a moment and meet and greet each other, say good morning, we'll get underway. How's that? So let's take a deep conscious breath. Maybe bring down the lights a little bit. Just release. As we surrender to this eternal now moment, as we come together for our call to service, which we call lighting the flames of faith. And we perform this ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples, all faiths, all sentient beings come from the one great universal presence, which we call Spirit. Fundamental to this truth is the unifying nature of all religious thought and experience, which we honor here this morning. So as Reverend Kathy lights the first candle, it's for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. We light the second candle for shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of primal spirituality. We light the third candle for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. We light the fourth candle for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. We light the fifth candle for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. The sixth candle we light for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. The seventh candle we light for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. The eighth candle we light for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. We light the ninth candle for all forms of new thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. And the 10th candle we light for all those who are as yet unaware of the power and presence of Spirit in their lives, and for the space we hold for them here at our center. And as Reverend Kathy lights the healing candle, please put silently into the light the names of anyone you wish to have experience the healing flame of God's eternal love.
In this moment, in this place, I remember who I am, letting fear and worry fall away from me. I open my eyes and I see there is that sets us free. There is only love.
So join me, please, as we recognize that there is only love, that God is love, and that love is in our mind, body, and all aspects of our life. God's love is in our health, in our relationships, in our finances, and creative expression. And as we know right now that today, that we are one with this presence, that we live and breathe the life of God, breathing God's love, God's health, God's wealth, God's creative expression, and that we just feel this love in this room, that God's love is expressing through everyone here, through Reverend Mike, through our musicians, through the sound, through everyone here. We just feel just illuminated with that divine love. And so with deep, abounding gratitude, we release these words to the law, knowing it is so, knowing it is done, and together we say, and so it is. So good morning, everyone. And since this month. It's about abundance, and today's talk is Giving and Getting. I'd like to share from the Science of Mind textbook, page 440. It says, "It is only as we allow the divine current to flow in and out that we really express life." And so to live an abundant life, we have to have a balance of giving and receiving. I was watching a video by a minister in Santa Rosa, Dr. Edward Fillion, and he was talking about, we have to inhale and exhale to live. We can't do both. We can't do this, and we can't, it's a combination of both. And so that same principle is in with giving and receiving. Have you ever been with somebody who was solely a taker? Someone who always took but never gave? I had a relative like that. It was my uncle. He was married to my aunt, and after my aunt passed away, he'd come over to my mom's house, have free dinners, never reciprocate. If he went to lunch or dinner out, he would open his wallet at the end and say, "Oh, I forgot my credit card and I don't have any cash." And this would go on frequently. Now, this man was financially well off, but when he passed away, he didn't have that many friends, really, so he might have not been abundant in other areas, and when he passed away, he didn't take that money with him either, I promise you that. But then there's the other thing, too, where sometimes if you have somebody who's totally will never receive, that can be equally frustrating, too. Have you ever been with people who, they always picked up the tab, and if you tried to reciprocate, "Oh, no, don't do anything for me. You don't have to bother." That's not really fulfilling either. So there's got to be that balance of giving and receiving. As Emerson said, "Beware of holding too much in your hands." Now, I often think, about giving and receiving in the financial realm, but it's also about all relationships as well. When I first joined a religious science church many years ago, I started to get a lot more out of the teaching when I started to give back. Instead of just going to the Sunday services and leaving, I started giving my time and talent, taking classes, making financial contributions, and here I am, a minister. So it definitely worked well in my life to be on that giving and receiving end. Now, another thing, and Karen Hudson over here can attest, I was in Toastmasters off and on, and always I got a lot more out of that club. That's a public speaking club when I started fully participating, and so Michael Carlin knows this too. If I just went to meetings and really didn't participate in giving talks and evaluations, I didn't really improve in my speaking. The more I participated, the more I got out of. So that's, I think, the metaphor for all life. Now, in the area of love, there definitely is that giving and receiving. Yesterday, Reverend Mike and I and Reverend Nancy, we attended the Celebration of Life service for Marilyn Collins. She was a longtime member of this center, and I was feeling sad when I first went into it was at the Westlake Center. When I first sat down, I felt sad, and I felt sad for her family. But when family members got up and started to talk about how loving she was, how giving, and, how much she meant to the family, that she really did live an abundant life. And when her physical limitations, the last few years of her life started to be apparent, they were eager to give back to her to make sure her quality of life was good. So that love, giving and receiving love is definitely an important balance. So just know, as the song says, the love you take's equal to the love you make, and so it is.
See you. Please welcome Jason Goldstein, filling in for David today on the keyboards. David had a late gig last night. I won't make any jokes the way he does when I'm out of town. Yeah. But he will be back next week. And please welcome Mr. Kent Moore on the bass. And I am very pleased to have our next guest here that we love very much, Mr. Jerry Reike. 3, 4. Let your soul be your pilot. Let your soul guide you. He'll guide you well. When you're down and they're counting, when your secrets all found out, when your troubles take to mounting, when the map that you have leads you to doubt, when there's no information and the compass turns to nowhere that you know well, let your soul be your pilot. Let your soul guide you. He'll guide you well. When the doctors fail to heal you, when no medicine chest can make you well, when no counsel leads to comfort, when there's no more lies they can tell, no more useless information, and the compass spins between heaven and hell. Let your soul be your pilot. Let your soul guide you and guide you well. And your eyes turn towards the window panes, to the lights upon the hill. The distance seems so strange to you now. The dark room seems so still. Let your pain be my sorrow. Let your tears be my tears too. Let your courage be my motto, that the north you find will be true. When there's no more information and the compass turns to nowhere that you know well, let your soul be your pilot. Let your soul guide you. Let your soul guide you. Let your soul guide you on your way. Namaste.
Thank you. That was wonderful, yes? Good morning, everybody. It's wonderful to see you all. So I'm going to highlight some announcements. First of all, today, we have a board meeting today. I know a couple people are interested in coming, so you're welcome to come if you'd like. But also today at 2 o'clock is the Law of Attraction group, and it's facilitated by Mike Carlin, and that's at 2 o'clock. Later in the week, Wednesday night, we have visioning for the center with Reverend Mike at 6 p.m., followed by the Get Real and Heal meditation service at 7 o'clock on Wednesday night. There is a spiritual mind treatment workshop coming up on Saturday, the 27th of October at 9 a.m., facilitated by, I think it's Nancy, Kitty, and Suzanne. So that's going to be wonderful. I promise you. They did one on forgiveness, and this is kind of part 2 of the forgiveness workshop, so come check that out. Saturday, the 27th, also in the evening, we're having a showing of Pixar's Coco. So if you have kids or grandkids, come on down and take advantage of that. It's a free screening, and there's going to be pan dulce. And who said that? Yeah, say it again. Pan, that's what I said. Pan dulce. With hot cocoa. Get it? Because we're watching Coco, so we'll have hot cocoa. And then Sunday, the next day, Sunday, October 28th at 10:30 a.m. is a youth program. That's you, right? You're going to be doing that? Are you, yeah. Yeah. But aren't you heading that up? Yeah. Don't be shy. All of that it's going to be facilitated by our wonderful member, and it's going to be Diane. A youth program with crafts, all focused on Dia de los Muertos. And by the way, look at this. You did that too, didn't you? Isn't that beautiful? Thank you for that. That's really beautiful. We have bereavement support group on Sunday, October 28th at 1 o'clock. But we also have a Celtic Remembrance Ceremony, Samhain, on Wednesday, October 31st, Halloween. I will not be dressing up and going trick-or-treating this year. Will you? Okay, so if you're not, then come here, because we're going to have a wonderful service here for us. It's a traditional Celtic Halloween ceremony. And then the Dia de los Muertos procession and ofrenda ritual will be taking place on Friday night, from 5 to 8 p.m., November 2nd. So there's a lot of wonderful things coming up. And you have something? Chloe?
I do.
Quickly.
I'm kind of doing a fundraiser, and is anyone prefer to get a check or cash? I will appreciate that.
Okay. Fundraiser for Chloe's group back there, and she'll take checks or cash, and so will I. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So please stand for our Declaration of Principles. Which is in your program. We believe in one universal spirit manifesting through all, natural and incarnated in us. We believe that the universal spirit is personal to and reveals itself through everyone who recognizes its presence. We believe our faith operates upon a law of mind, which automatically manifests in our experience according to that faith. We believe in the unity of all life and the immortality of the individual soul forever expanding. We believe in the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the givingness of life to all.
I am a light, I am a light, I am a light in this world. And I shine, and I shine, and I shine so bright. are alive, we are alive, we are alive in this world. And we shine, and we shine, and we shine so bright. And we shine, and we shine, and we shine so bright. And we shine, and we shine, and we shine so bright.
How about that? I don't want you to miss anything. I may actually say something that makes sense. You never know. So before I get started here, I don't know if you guys know, did you know I'm an Eagle Scout? Yes, I am an Eagle Scout because you're always an Eagle Scout. And so whenever I have an opportunity to support scouting, which I really believe in, and I know some of the political stuff has gotten a little weird, but y'all just breathe through that if you have issues with that, because it really makes for wonderful young men and women and citizens. And so I'm going to ask you, Jordan, just to stand for a moment. So I would love for us to support Jordan. He's working on his Eagle Scout project, which is a big deal. And he's gone through all the merit badges and done all this other stuff, and now he's doing this big project, and he's raising money. So but he believes in the law of circulation. So there's a spaghetti dinner. It's up in Santa Clarita. It's only $10. You know, you can't even go to McDonald's for $10 anymore. And it's going to be nutritious and delicious and made with love. And the Scout Oath and Law will be stirred right into all of that. So you're going to get triply blessed. So you can sit down now. So it's this Wednesday, right? However, if you don't live up there and you would like to support him, he will take donations to help defray the cost of he's building stuff. So there's a lot of building materials and so forth. He's trying to raise, it's only like $600 or $700. So we're going to throw in $100. Okay, we're going to throw in $100. And so beat that. Okay. Anyway, I love scouting and, of course, a lovely family as well. So, and I just know this is the beginning of really great things for you, Jordan. And, yeah. So we're happy to support you in that. And if you live up in Santa Clarita, you know, $10, spaghetti dinner, just saying. Now, does that come with wine or? Oh, that's right, Boy Scouts, sorry, okay. Oh, entertainment. Oh, are you going to be playing? Yeah. So Jordan is a very accomplished saxophone? Trombone. So, yeah. So you and a couple of buddies going to be doing a little thing? Yeah, we're going to have our jazz band. All right. All right, good. The jazz band is going to be there. So, yeah, there's a flyer. Well, there's a flyer out there. Did you bring any? Yeah. Okay, good. So see him and we'll get that squared away. All right? So let's support him in that. I think it'll be a fun night. And I'll see you next week. No. So I did want to talk about, so we have some lovely things coming up. So the ofrenda here is not an appropriation, but rather kind of an honoring of a wonderful tradition, mostly from Mexico, I think, yes? Diana? South America. Okay, so it is throughout South America, And it's tied to indigenous practices and Christianity. It's tied to All Souls Day, if you come from that tradition and know that. So on November 2nd is the actual day of Dia de los Muertos. So we're doing this to honor both indigenous practices and the Christ consciousness that's in that as well. And of course on Wednesday before November 2nd is Halloween, which is the Samhain celebration, which is the Celtic remembrance of the ancestors. So in Celtic spirituality, on October 31st, it's believed that the veil between the two worlds, right, the next world and the world that we live in, the veil is very thin. And so you can pass through. Which sounds really spooky as I'm saying it. And I can only imagine, you know, being out in the West where things are really kind of wild, what it must be like on dark nights in that way. But anyway, so Reverend Jeannie Hoffman is putting that together. So it's a lovely Samhain, kind of a Taizé service, I suppose. So that's spoken word, music, little meditation, and just prayerful remembrance for our ancestors. So you got the Irish version, we have the Latin version, and I'd just like to thank Diana Contreras. So Diana, let everyone know who you are. Please stand. Let me embarrass you for a little bit. And her, right? So, and then Sunil is her husband. So, yeah. And you get some for holding down the fort so she can come here. So Angela and Diana and Margot Cravell put this together. So, of course, I don't know who would have made a diva. Yeah. So this Angela made some of these, and Margot made some, and then we have some skulls and some other stuff, and the kids are making things. Now, our part in that is that we can place remembrances. So this is from Marilyn's service yesterday. And we'll set up more tables over here. My brother Jamie's going to make it up there. So next week, if you would like to bring a remembrance of a loved one who's passed, please, you're welcome to do that. And then in the Latin culture, let's say you had a grandfather or an uncle who was fond of tequila and cigarettes, stuff like that. So you might have that up here, right? Or their favorite food, yes? And so anything like that, okay? And do yourself a favor and look it up on the internet and see. It's really a lovely remembrance. This is, so Margot's husband when he was younger, Mark Ravel, who was a huge fisherman. So she's got a picture of, it looks like a nice silver that he caught there. It looks like about a 10-pounder. So not that I've ever caught a fish like that, but I've seen lots of pictures of them. So anyway, unfortunately. All right, so enough of that, yeah? Okay. So as Reverend Kathy mentioned, we did send Marilyn Collins off into her Celebration of Life service yesterday out in Westlake because our place wasn't big enough. It was very well attended. I'm sorry that you couldn't be there to join us for that. And what I know about that is that many of you didn't know Marilyn because two things happened. First, she had grandkids, so she was going to the soccer games and all that were often on Sundays. So you didn't see her as much then. And then she was ill for 4 or 5 years and wasn't able to make it and actually moved over to Calabasas. So we're just releasing her to the next level of expression. She was huge in this center, longtime member, maybe 40 plus years. Volunteered in the youth, teaching the youth and so forth. And so anyway, loved her. She was great. And I have to say, I'm kind of surprised that the service is so well attended when the talk title today is Getting and Giving, because you know what's coming. Right? So I'm sorry on your first day here you get to talk about money from the minister. You know, it's never a good thing. But we don't teach it from that perspective. So I'm not here to pound on you about, you know, we need some money, so be generous. But rather we're here to speak to the law of circulation. The law of circulation that knows that there is a power for good in the universe. As Emma Curtis Hopkins said, there is good and I ought to have it. So it's a recognition of original blessing rather than original sin. Original blessing versus original sin. For we recognize and know that if all is an emanation from the very mind of the divine itself, that the Spirit first had a thought, and then from that thought created all of the universe out of itself, bound only by the nature of its own being, which is infinite. That's a huge idea, right? So in all the ways that God is in, so think of the aspects of God that are most important to you. So life as infinite, love as infinite, intelligence, infinite intelligence, right? And we are that individualized, right? So of course we cannot be all that God is, but certainly all that we are, God is, right? So every cell, every molecule, every cell, every muscle, every sinew, every organ, every neuron, every wrinkle of our cortex, every cell in our bones, everything, every aspect of our body temple and our thinking as well is an emanation of the divine in expression. That we are Spirit as the creator and then we as the creature. Right? And so in this way then, we are a reflection of that infinite power and presence, bound only by our own thinking, bound only by the ways that we push that away. Now, in the old tradition, they would call that a sin, right? So sin not as an offense against God now, but rather as an error in thought. And in fact, I remember one class that I took as an adult in the Catholic tradition where the priest who was teaching it reckoned that sin was actually just a turning away. Right, so here's the light, right, and we turn away. And I think that's an apt metaphor, right? This is an apt metaphor because don't we all want to be infused with the infinite knowledge of the universe? Why wouldn't we? Don't we all want to be infused with the creative power, the infinite creative power of the divine? Why wouldn't we? The infinite power of love, right? Of course we would. And yet, so many of us are content to play small because it's bound only by our own limitation. So what this means then is we have to be fierce in our commitment to be courageous, to live in faith instead of fear. So when we are in error, sometimes it's just a bonehead move. Oh, could have done that better, right? I'm talking about the premeditated errors, the ones that you make, and there's this little feeling that says, you know, this may not be a good idea, but you do it anyway, that one. Right? Because we forget to pray. We forget to extend the invitation that's always there. Because the truth is that we live in an abundant universe. We live in an abundant universe. And we can see this in practical ways, but we can also see it in scriptural ways. Right? All we have to do is go out, even in the city with all the light pollution, all we have to do is go out at night and see all the stars. And boy, if you get out into the desert or into the mountains where the light isn't, I mean, it is amazing, even with the full moon. Countless. Ernest Holmes talks about how even on a beach, there's no way we can count all the grains of sand on a beach or all the beaches, right? Which actually is not quite true because the earth is a finite system, so technically you could if you had the capacity to count them, but that's another story. But using it as a metaphor, certainly we could not count all the grains on all the beaches throughout the universe. That is certainly true. So we live in an abundant universe. And we look out into the universe and we see that it operates as a system of laws, of natural laws. And as all is a demonstration and a creation of the divine itself, then in some way then, our life too is bound by natural laws, or an expression of these natural laws, of which one of them is the law of circulation. So, as Reverend Kathy was speaking to, the law of circulation is always an issue of receptivity rather than production, right? So the law of circulation is really about allowing ourselves to receive more than it is to give. Now, it doesn't look like that often, because the things that we're kind of stingy with are the things that we're stingy with, right? But let's just use, before I get to the money, because I'm getting there, you know that. But before we get to that part, so think about the ways that we withhold love, okay? Even within relationships that we can be committed to or are committed in, that we can withhold, right? Think of, and then extending that out a little bit further, right? So families maybe that we've grown up in, and we have stuff, right? So we're going to be moving into the holidays. Not your family. Her mom's sitting here, but we all have stuff, right? So we have the sibling stuff, you know, all that rivalry and stuff that maybe we grew up with, whatever, right? So we withhold a little bit. Or the guy shaking his cup in front of the 7-Eleven looking for loose change. We withhold. Right? How can we open up there? How can we open up there? Right? How can we see the light of God in that situation? How can Stephanie see the light of God in me when I'm being less than the emanation of my God self? Doesn't happen very often, no. No, but I mean, this is where the work is, right? It's not the big deal, you know, let's change the laws so that everyone loves each other. No, let's change the law of my own being so that I am a more loving person, which really is just simply about allowing the divine heart that's already in there to express and not being shy. Right? Now, for many men, this is not our strong suit. I think women are actually better at this than men are. Not always, because I'm a very open-hearted guy myself. When I am. Right? So we have to, because we have to be vulnerable. Right? We have to be vulnerable. And what is vulnerability about? Is that about giving or receiving? Right? Well, it's kind of both, right? So then, the final frontier in spiritual practice, of course, is giving money. Right? It's putting our money where our mouth is. Now again, not because the preacher's telling you to, not because there's a biblical tradition of tithing, right? Not because of that even, but rather to participate in a law of circulation where we are open and receptive to demonstrating the law of life in our in the way that we are with our finances. So what does this mean? So many of you have heard the story of my own journey with giving and giving in church. So we used to say when Maureen was here, Dr. Maureen was here, and I was just a guy out there, like you, Jordan. I'm just out there, right? And I'm listening, and I'm resonating with everything I'm hearing, and the offering would happen, and, you know, I'm a resentful $10 a week giver, right? Which, by the way, is what my dad gave in the 70s, right? And this is the early 2000s. Right? And we used to hold our gift over our heart before the offering, and we go, this gift goes forth to heal, to prosper, and to bless. It is evidence of my conviction that God is the source and substance of my supply. Evidence of my conviction. Now, I didn't really hear that part. What I heard is the church needs money. And I liked Maureen's, and she gave a pretty good message, so I should, you know, give her $10 a week. So I would stop by the ATM. Of course, the ATM only gives you 20s. So I had to stop by, walk by the guy shaking his cup into 7-Eleven and break that 20 so I would have a 10. So this one Sunday, I didn't have time to do that. So the offering came around, and I reached into my pocket, and I went, oh, crap, all I have is 2 20s. So I'm thinking, okay, well, I'll give 20, and then I won't have to give next week. So, so I'm holding this money over my heart, and then I hear it. It is evidence of my conviction that God is the source and substance of my supply. And so I just kind of went, oh, crap here. And I put $40 in for 1 week, $40. And so then I made that commitment. And then I went to a tithing class, and they talked about your tithe 10% of your income. Now that's a benchmark, and that's a biblical benchmark. It's the one that churches use. And frankly, they can use to manipulate people into giving, frankly. And I really don't want you to feel shamed into giving to the church or into giving to me, unless you think that's going to be really effective. No, seriously. Seriously, I don't want you to give to I want people to give to this center because they feel like this is your spiritual home, and you want to fund it properly. Because there's so much more that we could do. Right? So we cover the bills. But I would love to give money to projects like, creating clean water for villages in Africa and South America. That's like a big deal. There's people walking a couple miles a day each way just for clean water. Right? There's a lot of stuff out there that we could do when we're in the overflow. Right? So, I took this tithing class, and they were talking about 10%. Now, at the time, I'm making $1,000 a week. $1,000 a week. So a tenth of that is $100. $100 a month? No. $100 a week. $100 a week in the collection plate. Are you freaking kidding me, man? But it was only a 12-week class, right? And it was an experiment. Now, and I have a construction business at the time, right? So I'm paying myself a salary out of the business, along with my business partner. And I'm doing okay. So if you have a business, you're writing off your car and the fuel and insurance and phones and all that stuff. So I'm doing all right. But I got to tell you, that first check for $100, I wish I had it. It probably has like scribbly, yeah. And so I did that every week and kept that commitment for 12 weeks. And you know what I found out was that I didn't miss it. Right? Now, mind you, I'm still paying child support. I'm still doing the trying to squirrel money away for college education and doing all that. So there's still stuff going on. And what I found was, and this was for me, what I learned is that I live in a law of circulation. And what I came to see were all the ways where my abundance was all around me, and I failed to make a demand on the universe. You know, the universe cannot cash a check we do not present. Right? It cannot pay an invoice. It cannot pay an invoice we do not present. It cannot pay a change order. Right? I'm out of construction. It cannot pay a change order. Right? And so what I came to see was that as I understood that I was living in a law of circulation, I came to see the ways that I was blocking my good. You know, Reverend Kathy talked about going to lunch and arguing over the bill. I just started, okay, thank you. If you go to lunch with me, thank you. Right? So in all of those little ways, I started to see how I really was supported by the universe. And my business partner, I know some of you have heard this story a couple times, but my business partner said to me, because I told him, you know, we were doing a lot of work for the Archdiocese, and he was really connected in that. And so he says to me, right, so we were making money, and he says to me, I don't know what you're doing, but keep saying that rosary, because we're doing really good. He was from the Bronx. So, and we were. All right, so we paid all our bills, we paid each other up, we're doing our salary, we got all that, and we got $90K in the bank, and it's September. I mean, in contracting circles, that's a huge win, right? And so I proved to myself, so in my business, I proved to myself that it works. So I would invite you to prove to yourself how it works, right? And hopefully, you know, the place that you will choose to experiment will be this place. But it doesn't, you know, it doesn't have to be. Just give. Give. And if cash isn't what you're prepared to deal with, we've got a new thought-a-thon coming up, which you'll be hearing more of next week. So there'll be times to be of service there. So Reverend Kathy really spoke to that nicely, right? That we can also practice the law of circulation in being more open-hearted. Practice in here, which is pretty easy. Practicing in here is pretty easy, right? Yeah. But when we take it out there, when we take it into our relationships and into our families and onto the job, or how about onto the freeway, right? That means no more half peace signs. I'm not talking about this one. You're number one. No more of that. Right? So Ernest Holmes said this. Oops. All of life moves in a circle. Everything bends back upon itself. As a man sows, so shall he reap. And so must he reap until he sows differently. Right? So this is just a reminder of that the master physician, Jesus, taught this 2,000 years ago, and some of us are slow learners, I guess, right? But until we sow differently, we're going to keep getting what we're getting. So if we keep doing what we're doing, we're going to keep getting what we're getting. If we keep thinking what we're thinking, we're going to keep getting what we're getting. Right? So all of life, so I just said that. So let's, you know what, that's enough. Let's just call the musicians up. And we're going to take a deep breath and consider this idea of the law of circulation today. This time of harvest. So just know with me that there is only one thing going on here. There's only one power, one presence, one source, one life, one living intelligence, one infinite heart of God expressing itself in, through, and as this manifest universe. in, through, and as all of its creations, including you and including me, including all beings, all of life. And so we just take a moment to consider how this is true for us. We consider the ways in which maybe we're not as open and receptive to that idea, and we just open our heart and still our mind. That we allow the Holy Spirit then to infuse every aspect of our being, every molecule, every cell, every organ, every muscle, every bone, every sinew, every neuron is activated now by the pattern of perfection that is already there, the pattern perfection of God intelligence, Christ consciousness, however you know that to be. And so from this place of knowing our oneness with the divine, we call forth that which we require in our life to experience the fullness of life, the life of God as our life. And so whatever those little nicks are that we may have been hanging on to up until now, we just release those now. That we allow ourselves to be more courageous in our loving, to be more open in ways that are creative, to find ways to be more generous in the world, in thought and deed. That we allow ourselves to have our thinking shifted and lifted into higher realms of thinking that are beyond self-absorption and more into large S self-expression. So we take this day, this Sabbath day, to express more of the Spirit as our life. And take that into our work week, into our relationships, into our families. And see how things are raised and lifted. And come back next week and report with each other.
If your whole life somehow wasn't much until now, and you've almost lost your will to live, no matter as long as there's a breath in you, there's always one more time. And if your dreams go bad, everyone that you've ever had, they don't mean some dreams don't come true. We know it's funny about dreams, strange as it seems. There's always one more time. Turning corners is always a state of mind, and keeping your eyes closed is worse than being blind. I don't care if it's been turned down time and time again. If we meet one day, please don't turn and walk away. 'Cause there's always one more time. Yes, there's always one more time. Jason Goldstein, yeah.
Wow. Let's give it up to Jerry one more time. So Jason, you probably have an answer what that old joke, what'd you do with the money? No one ever probably told you that joke. They used to say it to me. What'd you do with the money? What money? The money your mom gave for those music lessons. That was really good. Particularly whatever that was there at the end. Yeah. Wow. Okay, thank you. All right, so as we prepare our gifts for the offering, Ken and the two Ks will take us in.
Spirit gives through me, Spirit receives through me, Spirit lives and breathes through me. Spirit lives and breathes through me. Spirit gives through us, Spirit receives through us, Spirit lives and breathes through us. Spirit lives and breathes through us.
So going within for just a moment longer, recognizing and knowing that the gifts presented here this morning are a demonstration of consciousness from the hearts of the individual that knows and truly knows that God is our source, our substance, our supply. And so through the heart of these generous individuals, we, representing the heart of this community, accept these gifts with deep appreciation, love, and respect, as we know together they go forth to heal, to prosper, and to bless the life and life vision of each one here this morning. That we extend this knowing, this blessing unto our friends in our community of Granada Hills, our city of Los Angeles, our state of California, our United States of America, all of its churches, temples, mosques, schools, universities, the people who attend them, the people who support them. We know for our planet as well that all of it is an expression of the divine. And to the extent that we know this to be so, we see it. We see it because we're looking for it. We see it in all ways, great and small. This raises our hearts, and we feel a sense of grace and power that propels us into ways of spiritual living that shift and lift our own life and the lives around us, and that's a good thing. And together we acknowledge this by saying, and so it is. So please help me thank lovely Rita and Miss Chloe.
No, Demon's having David here.
I'm sorry?
When he plays the saxophone.
Oh, she misses when David's not here because of the saxophone. Not that you're chopped liver or anything. All right, so, and by the way, what I don't think Chloe said, Sees Candy is what she's selling, so if that makes any difference to anybody. So.
It is from different programs and through his
Right, youth programs. And then Jordan, go ahead and stand up one more time, Jordan, this handsome young fella here. All right, so look for him. You'll be out here on the side. Okay, so you'll find him over in the fellowship hall. Join us for coffee. Let's thank Jerry one more time. Nicely done. And the band. These guys were really great in Westlake and at the reception afterwards yesterday, so really amazing. So let's call Reverend Kathy up. I already called them, so I don't think they're coming. I've been told the teens don't necessarily want to come in. So is that correct?
Okay, one announcement.
Okay,
to,
we'll see if the teens are going to come in.
Just to let you know that Kitty's available for 1-minute miracles after the service. She'll be in that little room that used to be the bookstore, and any of us, Andrea or myself, we're also available for prayer. We'll wait a minute then for the kids, see if there's kids.
They're not coming. Yeah.
Not come. Okay.
Yeah, they're watching us on the
Oh,
big
great.
screen.
Okay. So let's just join together, taking a breath and breathing in all this loving energy here, as we just recognize this presence and power, which is God, which is love, health, wealth, creativity, giving and receiving. And we are one with this presence. We're one with this life of love, health, wealth, creativity, and giving and receiving. So as we just know that we are just abundantly supplied with everything we need, loving relationships, vibrant health, creative expression, and financial freedom, wisdom, and wealth, that the law of circulation is active in our lives right now, that we are giving generously, receiving abundantly. And so we are so grateful and appreciative of all these blessings that we have right now, and we are so blessed with this wonderful center for Reverend Mike and all the people who participate here. And so with a deep abounding gratitude, we release these words to the law. As we know it is done, we know it is so, and together we say, and so it is.
Please stand for the peace song.